I wanted to read this right here because I've heard this over and over again, the Great Resignation. So to not just hear that phrase, but to know, well, what does this all mean? The Great Resignation. It also is known as the Big Quit. This means that it is an ongoing trend of employees voluntarily leaving their jobs from spring of 2021 to the present, primarily in the U.S. So the Great Resignations have been characterized as in response to COVID-19 pandemic. The American government refusing to provide necessary worker protection and wage stagnation despite rising cost of living. Some economists describe the Great Resignation as a general strike while discussing Striketober, a strike, and it reads on. There's more to this, of course. So, Striketober is the wave of strikes that happened in October of 2021. So, the term was possibly coined by an Anthony Klotz, a professor of management of Mays Business School at Texas A&M University, who predicted the mass exodus in May of 2021. So the Great Resignation is also known as the Big Quit. So it has a graph of the resignation rates that had initially had started, and then it eventually it says it had plummeted, and it kind of fluctuates, I would say. Looking at this situation, it puts into perspective why some people quit. So why do some people quit? Well, let's look at something here. So I looked at this article and I looked at the video. I'm not going to play the video. You can look at the video when you get a chance. But I thought this was interesting because these stores are popping up all over the place, especially here in LA and South LA. I see Dollar General. When I was in the South, I would see Family Dollar and Dollar General like everywhere, it seemed. I was like, where are these little country stores? And then when I got back into the city, here they go, Dollar General, and it has like everything in there. Even, if you're one of those kind of people that you're into going to these little stores and finding these little trinkets and a shirt or things that you would think were insignificant and you couldn't find it anywhere else, or things that are cheap and that don't cost a whole lot but that do the job that you needed to do for the time being. And then everything that you can get to stretch your dollar, if it's tissue, if it's paper towels, if it's, cleaning products, and the whole nine yards. They even have food, and there's other goods in there. So it's all what I would say a shotgun store. It's sort of like a little version of Walmart. Now, Dollar General is putting workers' safety at risk, and this is what the Labor Department is saying about it. And so I found this very interesting. So this is an unrelated ad. They may pop up, but New York CNN Business Labor Department sharply criticized Dollar General's troubled history. So you never know what's happening on the outside. You're on the outside looking in until you actually go behind the closed doors and see what's really going on. So the Labor Department sharply criticized Dollar General, their troubled history on worker safety, saying that the fastest growing retailer in the U.S. has been putting its more than 150,000 workers in harm's way for many years. So at the U.S. Department of Labor, the company is recognized for its long history of violations and repeated failures to protect its workers from on-the-job hazards. The agency said in a news release. So Dollar General continues to put workers at risk. So since 2016, the department's Occupational Safety and Health Administrators has proposed more than 3.3 million in penalties. That's a lot of money for safety violations at Dollar General locations around the country. So this is pretty huge. As I started reading it, I was like, I didn't think it was this bad, but it is. And then when I saw the video, it went from bad to worse. So the violations are typically for blocked electrical panels, obstructed exits, as well as forklift, housekeeping, and sanitation issues. Dollar General has a long history of disregarding safety measures to prevent serious injury and even death in the event of a fire or other emergency. As soon as I looked at that, I was thinking about the guy that was working for Amazon and they wouldn't allow him to go home. And this was during that recently where they had the tornado, and if he was able to be allowed to go home, maybe he would have still been alive, him and maybe some other people, if they were allowed to go home. And so you wonder about these jobs like this, what they put their workers through, and do they even care? It almost looks as though it's not about the workers, it's more about their profits. And so that's why I said, what are you worried about? Protecting more your profits rather than the workers, and it shows. And Dollar General is no stranger to this as well. So it says that Assistant Secretary for Occupational Safety and Health, Doug Parker, said in a statement that this right here, it's just really bad. The company's troubled history of workplace safety violations must come to an end. So it goes on to even go further and say in June, a federal inspection at Dollar General in Mobile, Alabama, found the store again had failed to keep the main storeroom orderly to allow workers to exit safely during an emergency. That just made me think of the guy where he was in Amazon and the tornado and they wouldn't let him go. I just can't get that out of my head. It's so sad. He had kids and his daughters were like, "Where's daddy?" You know, it's like, it's just stuff like this is just frustrating. It makes you angry and agitated, you know, that these places don't value the workers as human beings, you know. So, you know, they deserve to be safe where they work. So it goes on to say the store also exposed workers slip and trip hazards and being stuck or stuck while being struck by falling boxes as well. And so OSHA proposed, now this is a number of fines, $321,827 in fines for violations. That's a lot of fines. Dollar General has 15 days to comply with the penalties from OSHA since the agency issued this in on December 8th. So it's unclear whether Dollar General has paid those fines or if it's challenging them on the fines. And so the company has a low, what does it say? The company has, let me get into this. So it says it did not respond for the request for comment on OSHA's allegations for the fines. So Dollar General is the fastest growing retailer chain in America, adding more stores every year than any other retailer. They say they even have more stores than Walmart. They have more stores than Home Depot. And I think they're the parent of Family Dollar. So the company currently operates 18,000 stores and said that it plans to even nearly double that number. So I was listening to the video, so I'm kind of paraphrasing the guy that I guess, I don't know if he's corporate for Dollar General. He says that on good days, or in terms of their money making, on good days they do good, and on really not so great times they do even better. So they are making a lot of money during this pandemic. They are making a lot of profit. And so if I read on, if I may, it says the company has a low cost, no frills business model. It operates 18,000 stores, and it plans to double that number. So it does not disclose how much it pays its workers. Now, from what I saw, doesn't look like they pay very well. And I'm just throwing that out there, but you might want to ask people who actually work there, but it doesn't sound like it. And from the video that I saw on this, with what those workers are going through, it doesn't pay well. And I really don't think it's even safe to work at Dollar General. Yes, I said it. It doesn't sound like it's even safe to work at them. And I can attest to this because I've seen some of those stores. They have a lot of stuff in there, but the element that it attracts and everything I saw in the video was absolutely true. They don't have very many workers in there, and I've noticed that. And that's not the only store I saw that in, but this one especially. And so it goes on to say that that's their business model, is that low cost, no frills business model. So it does not disclose the pay. And it also, but the industry analysis says it is among the lowest in retail. So in terms of the pay, which I'm not surprised. So Dollar General has said that it provides competitive wages and benefits. A lot of jobs say that. And mostly your low wage jobs will always say that. So Dollar General stores tend to be small, crowded, high shelves, piles of boxes and carts lining the aisles. Sometimes only one or two workers are on the shift at a time. And that is no lie. And I absolutely do see that. And I've noticed it. So former executives, store employees, law enforcement officials, and retail security experts told CNN Business last year that the company was failing to protect the workers from violent crime. So its thinly staffed stores and low-cost approach left workers vulnerable to robberies and other safety hazards. These sources have said this, and so at least 6 Dollar General employees have died during armed robberies of 2016 and 2020, according to the review of news and police reports. And so Dollar General stores are not unionized, but the company faced a union drive at one Connecticut store early this year, but the workers voted against organizing. Okay, so maybe they felt like, it's not safe. We're just making a little bit of cash. We're not planning to stay here. This is a fly-by-night type of gig. And then once we get out of this, we're going to look elsewhere for another job that's safe to work at, where they keep the workers safe, and then there's more people helping and supporting one another. And so when I saw this video, there was a guy, he actually had to carry a firearm into his Dollar General just to feel safe. And he actually shot a guy, killed the guy. They were trying to put it on him to make it look like it was, hey, you carried this gun. But he felt, anytime you feel like you got to carry a gun to work just to be safe to work there, it's not safe. It's bad. So this is what this guy was put through. And they later found that he was well within his right to defend himself. It was bad like that. And so by them not having any security, they have cameras, but the cameras don't really do anything. And from the way the guy explained it, he says they always route him. They play the phone tag thing where they say, oh, we're going to take it up with our general manager, and then the general manager is going to take it up with HR and all of this and yada, yada, yada. You know how the song and dance drill goes. But anyway, this guy, he had lost his job. So now he lost his job because he basically defended himself. And so that's how that story goes. So you can look at the video later if you ever come to this article. Dollar General is putting workers' safety at risk, Labor Department says. So every time I was looking at the parts where it was talking about the dangers that it puts the workers through, it just made me think, what jobs have I recall having where they say, oh, you have to stay here and you have to do this and X, Y, and Z, and you can't leave until we say so. So I'm going to say it like this. And I have said this, and I'm not afraid to say this, but I feel like all of the workers, essential workers included, everybody that are workers that work these jobs that maybe they don't pay very well or they pay or whatever, it feels safe to say that these are modern day times where we are like the new slaves at these jobs, because you have to be there, you're worried about, having money that you put into your social security. So you got to stay working. And then you're also worried about not having your bills paid and your rent paid or your mortgage or whatever. And most of the times it's rent. And then, you got this pandemic and, a lot of people were behind. So some people have taken some of these jobs because that's the only thing they could find. And all of these places are like ready to hire you. And like this one guy that said that he had lost his job because he defended himself. He said it only took him a year to become a manager at Dollar General. And for them to bump him up. And a lot of times when you go in those stores, you'll have the carts in the aisle, like they described. There'll be long lines. There'll be like 4 cash registers, but like maybe 1 or 2 people checking people out, and the lines are wrapped around all the way to the back almost. And then you will have like people that know that you're distracted at the register and you're trying to get through all those customers to ring them out, and there's not really any store security. I've noticed that like here in South LA we have dollar stores. They even say that this store is actually progressing, or it's actually doubling. It's having more stores than Dollar Tree. It's doing better than Dollar Tree. And so, and also, have you noticed that these dollar stores, not everything in there is $1 as it used to be. So, but they're at best, they're like the cheapest. And like during the pandemic, the reason why they're doing so well is because, think about it, dollar, it's like a subliminal message. When you really don't have any money, or you lost your job, or you're trying to make your dollar stretch, you look at these stores as your savior. Oh, maybe I could buy some milk. Maybe I could buy, something, like some toilet tissue, or, things that'll like go a long ways, for like $2 or whatever. And so that's why so many people flock to these stores. And then sometimes they'll have like other things in there, like things that wouldn't assume would be in these stores, that you might just go ahead and grab. And they'll have like decorations for like holiday decorations and things like that that don't cost a whole lot of money. So when people are really not getting a lot of money, or they don't get paid very well, and they just want to like try to make their dollar stretch, then they go to these stores. So that's why they tend to do very well. But they don't treat the workers right. They don't have a union. And you already heard what happened, and then the workers' lives are at risk, and they're risky places to work. And so that's the sad part about it. And it's got all these fines. But with this, in regard to all of this, the reason why I found this article intriguing, which I know some people probably already know some of this stuff, some people don't realize that this is going on, because they just go in these stores thinking, wow, they got this, they got that, and they got this. But then you're not really thinking about what the worker behind the register, or the people that are working behind closed doors, what their feelings are. Do they feel safe working there? Are they getting paid anything? Is it like are they, you know, going to a job where it's uncertain whether they're going to be working today, or gone tomorrow because somebody comes in there and robs them, um, for, behind the register, wants to take money or whatever. And so we have, I believe, it's a dollar store. It's what they call it, a dollar store, that I believe it's part of this. It's similar to it, and it's right on Vermont, in the Vermont corridor in Westmont. And there's a lot of like homeless encampments around it, and it's dangerous because some of the people will come in there. You don't know if they've been, if they're if they're sick or what, and then sometimes they will vandalize or they'll try to break into the store, and so you can see where they've tried to board it up, or they've tried to get something to cover the windows or to make it, a little more safe, because there are people that are like encamped around there, and I guess they're waiting so that they can just like basically like try to figure out how to get inside, because they have everything. They have food, they have everything in there, but it's sad. It's like, and right now there's so much robberies going on. And so I've noticed that. And so this right here, to put the workers through this, I mean, a lot of that explains, this is yet but one scenario or one example of why some of the people decide, I'm not really going to keep this job because this doesn't pay well or it's not safe. And so a lot of times people think, getting a job and working there for a long, long time is all you need to do. But now people are getting smarter and they're saying, wait a minute, what about my safety? What about the benefits? What about retirement? Do they even offer that? Some places don't, and then when you start looking at the pay, and then you start looking at the safety involved, and then if people could actually get killed because it's an unsafe place to work, and then people start fitting all of the puzzle pieces together, and they're thinking, nah, I won't be here a week. So they move on. And so that's probably why you see what is the big quit.